Okay, hi there guys. Welcome to you all that are in at the moment. Hope you can hear me loud and clear. I'm all ready to go. Got my coffee in front of me, nice and warm. Not much of the markets for me at the moment. Hear me clear? We'll just wait, get a few more in there slowly, I'm guessing. They'll start hooking up. Who's having a good day today? I'm guessing there'll be a few out there. G'day Chris, how are you mate? Sharon, how are you? Having a good day, I guess. Alright, we'll get started. Alright, anyone that's new out there, welcome to TradeSetup. What you can see on the screen there is obviously we've got our general advice warning there, so if you haven't been here before, you see us in the top left hand corner at Twitter, so just join into us there, just follow us there if you like. We post a few different things up there that probably don't mention too much through the TradeSetup app or the stream. Facebook in the top right, bottom right is subscribe to us at YouTube. And we've got our general advice warning there, so anything we talk about is pretty much just our opinions and things all, so we don't give out any specific advice with regards to financial positions. So got to say that stuff. So let's get rolling then. Opened up around 30, so we've been hanging around there, pushed up a bit more on the ASX, but then we're backed off a bit more just recently, the last probably hour or so, I think. So we're up, well, let me just get up now. What are we now? Up 29, so up 30. So the futures actually popped up into the end of the US session on Friday night as the US just powered along. So they had a big night. So that was quite good for them, obviously. And we haven't done too much on the back of that. Obviously, we opened up, but it's really just exactly where the futures finished. I think they've pretty much been hanging around or where they're currently at the moment. I don't know what they're trading at. If anyone's seen that, might take a look at that in a minute. So yeah, up 30. Quite good. We've seen a few good little stocks tick off today. We've got one in WHA that was actually right here. That's it there. That's ticking off nicely. That's powering out. We're potentially look to take a partial exit up towards these highs, but instead just wanted to see how it reacted because it's got some beautiful structure there. You can see had a big powered move up, a big pullback around the 50% mark probably, give or take of that move up, and it started holding high lows, so that was looking quite good. So happy just to see how it went around that resistance and the fact that it's just popped up through on the open or near the open or just after the open. It was quite good, so we're looking for a partial exit up towards 3, and we'll just sit and see how that goes. FMG, after this little gap down, that's starting to pick back up again. I mean, still don't like so much that drop there. Their results weren't as good. They've had some good news, but basically good news in debt financing, refinancing, but not so good news in their results. And their dividend was, I think, cut in half maybe from what it was previously was. Not taken too kindly, but that long-term weekly structure is actually quite good. It's got a major double bottom here at 450, then you've got your high low at 5, so we can just see if that can work its way up. The shorter time frame might give us a few issues on the daily, but you got the longer term weekly high low here at 490, start working its way up and through 550, and then see if we can attack 6. But we'll just have to see. What else we got? ACX is probably the only other one that's just been sitting around going sideways since that takeover offer. I think it's getting voted on at the moment, so we've really just tightened our stop. I think it was 780 or 90 is a takeover offer on ACX, Aconex. That's of course if you can see that. It's really just sitting and wait and see how that goes. I mean, I don't expect it to kick off through there or through $8. I think there's probably going to be whoever's been holding it in the start to take profits maybe. I know we've taken a partial up here and then we'll just tighten up on the remaining half. But also probably be happy if it gets a little spike up towards 8, maybe just to close it out and just see how we go. Good little winner that one. But I wouldn't expect it to do too much after this. What else we got there? So let's go and look at the charts on the markets. Start off with the XJO. Look, I didn't expect it, to be honest, to get this high, but you can see, you know, MA is down. That's pretty much not reversion to the mean. It's blasted straight through it, which you probably do expect that kind of price action. After this savage move down, a lot of bargain hunting. They just keep ticking it higher. Good if you got onto a few, obviously, but I'm still wary. Actually, let me change that now that I recognise it. I'm just changing the picture. So that should be a bit clearer there. I'm not saying I'm a bearer of bull. I just don't like that sort of retracement. I still expect there's probably going to be a move down, but I now the way that's reacted up, you can see that savage move down has reacted up quite strong. I'm expecting more of a higher low. So we might have that move down that a lot of people are expecting. So I wouldn't expect a lot of people are heavy into the market at the moment, fully loaded. I would want to see, I'll just take that across like we've spoken probably a few times about this. I would just want to see, we've had that, I'll just draw it up again, honey. Move down, up. We've had that savage move down. That's probably from the highs. And then we've reacted quite strong back up again. And we're getting into sort of, well, if we can draw it properly, a bit of a resistance zone up here. So I would expect more. I want to see this kind of action, a bit of contraction in price, but holding some high lows. That's going to give me some positive outlook on this market. And then see if we can take out, a little lower high also. Building those lower highs, take that out, and then see if we can edge our way higher and start attacking back up through those highs and so on. I think it's going to take obviously a bit of time to work that way out. But what I don't want to see here is another savage move down and start straight down to 5,800. Then I'll be concerned that could go straight through, because there is still easily the potential for this is one move. That's a good retracement, and your secondary move down, which we always talk about. I know we've got a lower high here, but that was before the news. We're starting to edge our way back up, looking towards those highs, and then US got carded, got knocked down on their higher yields, and that's what we got, that big move down. So we could have a secondary move down. I'm partial towards this top price action, but I just think that needs to work out some of that fear, that lingering fear that's still around the markets. I know there's a lot of bulls out there, and if you did jump in, great. Doing all right, but you've got to be, I guess, really know exactly where your risk is if you're going to do that. Just if we do topple over, if we go and look at, I haven't got the US up at all, but yields are still, they've just backed off from that 3% mark on the 10s, on the 10-year notes, which is sort of that line in the sand. They did back off a bit on Friday. That's why you got the market kicking on a bit. But whether that good run up on the Dow, the S&P on Friday night was a bit of a blowout, and then we get the yield start ticking up again, I don't know. Whether they over-factored in quite a bit, it's yet to be seen just yet. So if they haven't, and they got more to factor in, then the bond yields could kick higher again, back through 3%. That's probably going to be a bit of a drag on the US equities, and in turn, it's going to be a bit of a drag on our market. So that's Dow. They still haven't come into those highs just yet. Am I missing? Is that a date? 23rd. Don't know why they haven't given me the last data on that. It's a bit of a bummer. So we're up. I don't know exactly where we closed on the Dow. I'm assuming 300 points is probably up to 5 above this high anyway. So we've taken out this previous high. I think the S&P does the same. They haven't uploaded the data. They've all gone to bed. They're still on the weekend in the US. Don't know why I haven't got the data on that. So we're missing the day. We're missing, was that the 3rd? That's right. I'm not talking about that. It is the 23rd. Okay, so the Dow, the S&P is just still pushing up into those highs. The same with the Dow's pushing up into those highs. So it could still back off and hold and take out this level here and then head straight back down to 24,000. You don't know. We could get, again, some of this type of price action on it and holding. That's whether or not, I guess it's going to be interesting to see whether that sell-off was triggered by a lot of the volatility traders, the algorithms we spoke about in the past, or whether there's going to be that secondary move down is really going to start flushing out more traders. A lot of these people who bought it off that bounce, bought into that bounce. I mean, the way this is going at the moment, we went from overbought, this big sell-off to oversold. We're heading sort of that 80% mark again. So we're heading back into oversold. We've only really retraced, probably eyeballing that around the 50%, just over 55% of that move down. on the S&P and probably the Dow as well. Sorry, the Dow and probably the S&P as well. Yep, bit the same. So if that's a 50% retracement, it's taken us a bit of effort and buying pressure to get back up there, and we can't get anywhere near those highs. Yeah, we might. That's why I'm leaning towards this price action, more consolidation, holding some high lows, holding lower highs, just contraction in price, and then start to build a longer term, more sustained move up. And again, if that doesn't play out, at least we're keeping ourselves out of trouble. But I think for the market to go down like that and straight back up and expect it to trade right up to the highs is a big ask. Low probability in my book, and it's not worth being fully loaded. I wouldn't expect into the market anyway. But that's my 2 bobs worth. What's it? The DAX, FTSE. If you go back to a weekly on this one, it's still not looking too nice. I mean, they've bounced. They haven't had anywhere near this kind of a 50% retracement from the highs at 78 that the Dow has, or the US has, and the DAX bit of the same. That's essentially a double top. You got a bit of a washout of the highs there. It's powered down from 13,600 down to around that 1,200 mark. So that's 1,100 points, isn't it? Yeah, about 1,100 points. So they've been poleaxed on that move down. They haven't really retraced too much either on the DAX, so it's not looking the best. We've retraced over 50%, but at the same token, you've got to put on the flip side what we've done compared to the US. The US gone to new highs, DAX, FTSE, new highs, all-time highs. We can't get near the old highs from 6,800 or 6,900 on the ASX. So that's probably why we bounced a bit better than the other markets. We're still not looking towards interest rates rises for this year, whereas globally in Europe they probably are. In US they are for sure, maybe 3 or 4 in US. Expecting potentially some rate rises in Europe, so that's why they're probably being hit a bit hard and being kept down a bit more. Whereas we're sitting pretty alright, I think. All right, let's any questions just on those charts there, guys? I'll just go over a few that I think in the forum, as Helen and I think it was Bitwise were talking about KDR, and I found that interesting. I liked it's good seeing Helen's take on it too, and I thought it was worth talking about. Just showing you what she was looking at. If I can get the chart up, let me just go over. And correct me if I'm wrong, Helen, when you're looking at it. So this is Kidman Resources. I thought we'd touch on this first, and then we'll get on to some other stocks that we're looking at. Do not deny this is a really nice looking chart, nice sort of setup. It's holding around the highs. So on the daily chart, which this is, I don't mind the setup, but there's a few. I mean, just looking at purely that price action there, and then that's what Helen was mentioning too. That looks great. A good little setup there. I mean, in anyone's book, it's worth taking. But you've got to know exactly where your risk is, and you've got to put it in context to what she was mentioning on the weekly chart. If you go back down to your weekly, look at the kind of move it's had. So you've got to question yourself on this daily chart. Even though the setup looks nice, I mean, you could have bought it straight through these highs. In hindsight, obviously, you know exactly where your risk is. If you bought it through this high at 193 to 194, bought it through the high on Friday, it ticked off. It's gone a bit higher today. It's up still 2% today. You're looking good. You know exactly where your risk is. I would put it, obviously, the way I trade would put it below 180. I wouldn't bother putting it way down here because I think by the time you get tagged at 180, you're pretty much going to get tagged at 160 as well, I would assume. And I think that just that move has broken down. But just taking a step back, I mean, that looks good. There's a few things, and I had this on the radar for a while, and I was debating whether to take that. And obviously the way, I know Helen looks at it probably very similar, you've got to go back a step to say, okay, how much could be in this move? How much upside is potentially in this move? Even though it looks really good, there's a lot of setups that can look good, spike through a few levels, drag in a few buys, and then turn around and reverse and push them straight back out again and on a major correction. So you've got to look at the longer term charts as well. So if you flick it back to a weekly chart, look at that move. If you just go through it from left to right, you've had a good little pop up here, way back in, I don't know, in 2016, backed off, held some high lows, some major high lows, then started holding, as it was contracting here, it was holding a support zone. Actually, I'll draw that up. Kidman Resources. So Change to blue. So you've got this support zone through here, some lower highs as the market's pressing down, and washed out that recent low, and then started building. And it's coming out of contraction there, holding a high low, holding high lows again through here. So this move up has been pretty strong. And if you compare it to what's happened in the past, you've had a big move up, or not a big move up. At the time, it was a big move up from oversold to overbought. The market was overbought up here when it got to these highs, pulled back, gone back down to oversold, and started pressing back up. But this leg up here it's quite extended by the looks of it. So you've got to ask yourself from probability terms, if you're trading off that daily chart like we just shown before, is there going to be a lot left in this move? Can we expect to go powering through those highs? I mean, there's nothing to say you can't, but I think it's worth chatting about from a probability perspective. What's the sort of probability on that trade there? Is it worth, going and being really active, really tight stop on that one, or tight risk management on this one, and just seeing if it does kick on, or is it better off just looking elsewhere, where you're looking potentially into a trade where you've got this type of price, you're at the start of the leg rather than potentially towards the end of a leg up, a longer-term leg up. Does that make sense, guys, what we're just trying to say there? I think it's a really interesting topic, because I have been noticing that KDR on the daily chart did think it was a good little setup. And I know a lot of traders, to keep off the sexes bandwagon, a lot of traders would definitely be looking at it on a daily chart. But if you've got that with the hope of it going to $3 or $4, you're probably really stretching your expectations on it. So I think it's good just to have the overall perspective on the daily as well, on the weekly as well, of what you could expect from that trade. Are you really expecting $4 on that? Is that really stretching the boundaries? And I think yes. But nothing wrong with taking that daily, knowing exactly where your exit is. If it starts slowing down up here and you're up a few percent, maybe take some off, take some risk off the table, let some ride, because you never know. It could just blast through that, go through to 250 and then roll over. Who knows? Or it could just keep going up from here. There's nothing to say it can't. But like we've said in the past, a lot of trading for me is about... Good, we just dropped off. Just let me know when we're back on. All right. We're back on again. So like I was saying, a lot of trading is based around probabilities. And what's the probability in your trade? What are you expecting too much? What sort of risk are you willing to put on? Maybe you can just put a smaller risk on this smaller size on the daily chart, knowing exactly that you could be towards the end of it. So it's good just making sure you get that overall perspective of the market, of what you're trading anyway. So yeah, guys, I hope that makes a bit of sense. What was the other one? There's another. So some that I've got an eye on, and probably in the same boat as that. There's two stocks I've traded before, both of them. Are we coming through clear enough, guys, or it's just not running right again? It has its good days and its bad days, this poor little modem. All right. We'll just keep plugging away. Yeah, it's just buffering, isn't it? Is everyone else getting buffering, or am I coming through okay? Let me just check something, sorry. Right, sorry, I just had to go and quickly check something. No, I missed some there, yeah. On and off again, it's me, isn't it? All right, so we've had a couple of good sessions on this poor little modem. It's running out of steam again. All right, we'll just keep going then. There's not much I can do about it. I've got it close enough to the window. Buffering a bit, yeah. Buffered and battered. All right. Oh, let's just plug away. If you miss something, I'll just let me know and we'll repeat it, unless I'm moving on too much. So AC8 is one that I think it's along the same lines. If we go back, just go to best fit. So you can see that's Oscan Group. I think it's the marijuana stock. I like this one, and same with CAN. If you look at Can's chart, we'll show you that in just a second. But along the same lines, but they're holding up. The weekly looks a bit, obviously it looks very stretched. And when you get moves like that, you've got to expect some sort of heat to come out of the market. And you've got to really, if you really like it fundamentally, for whatever reason you like it, you still have to expect some heat to come out of the market. If you're happy to hold it through that heat, yeah, that's great. That's up to you. I don't like that sort of thing. I like to be a bit more active. If I do think it's going to roll over and I expect some sort of complex correction, like we said, then I'd rather be out reassessing on the sidelines, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know if news is going to pop out. You never know. You just don't know what's going to happen in the stock. So I'd rather be on the sidelines reassessing it, book the profits, and then if I miss it, which happens a lot, so be it. There's always other stocks out there to trade. But if you're in it, and it does roll over and come all the way back to the start, it could come all the way back down to 70, for example, and you bought it in at 130, you're sort of holding a bit of heat there, you're up slightly. What if this thing turns out, they come up with some bad news, comes all the way back down, and you start seeing just selling pressure go into this stock? You'd rather, you don't want to be holding it in that perspective. Nothing wrong with booking profits. If we go down to the daily, I actually don't mind that daily. I like this kind of move up, and it spent a lot of time, so that pretty much a good part of this year, just cleaning out a few of those late buyers, a few of these buyers that bought it, even on this day. So you basically, when it took off really strong that day. The next day it gapped up, hit the highs, and it's been sort of backing off those highs since. Sorry, I'm just going to change my... There you go. So it's been a lot of time backing off those highs, and it's been cleaning out. So you've got this little move down, lower highs, and this big pressure. I think that was about that same time the market got hit. It's got some severe pressure, got popped down right down to the $1.20. It's hard. It looked like it's starting to hold up again. Got a little high low here, popped back up to that high at 164, lower high here at about 140, straight back up again, and it's had this. If we just drill in on that, this type of price action is not bad at all. When you had a nice green day, we're up 6% today. This is starting to come back on the radar. It's looking good, but again, it comes down to how much do you want to risk on a trade that's powered on. We could easily, from the daily, just pop up here, retest the highs, and then have a deeper correction and have more of a longer-term major correction. Does it make sense? So you've really got to have into perspective of where your risk is, what's happening overall, and what sort of, in your mind, what sort of probability you can assess the trade of being. Is it high probability, low probability? And it's just a broad, I guess it's a broad perspective of it, or a broad judgment. It's not an easy one to pick out, but it's good to have that sort of idea in the back of your head, because if this thing starts going on, you get long, you've got your risk potentially down here, it starts trading up through 160, 65, starts getting up towards here, it's all looking good for a break up through, but then it starts slowing down, you get some more selling pressure, you could have that, starting to look like a major lower high. What do you want to do from there? When you're sitting on a few gains, do you want to just get out altogether, or give it a chance to run? You've got to have all that pre-planned and know exactly what you're doing, considering that the weekly is looking more like a low probability trade than anything else. And if you look at Can, I think Can's in a similar type of boat. Powered up through. Well, I think we got long a few times on this. We were long in here, a little run up, long again in here. Missed a bit of chunk of this. We got out around the 2 mark. Missed a big chunk of this, and then missed this second leg up here. But if you go and mark that up, that's looking very much the same. I like the look of this on the daily. There's a few things, but if I'm going to go into it, I've got to have in the back of my mind of exactly what's happening, exactly what probability I associate with this trade, what I could expect. Oh, perfect. So you've got this move up here, powered long, and we've had a lot of time washing out, but it really held up at that 240 level. Then it powered up to 460, straight back off, washed out that high, and we've bounced back off that. We've reacted quite good off that 240, after that little wash out of the lows. So that might have triggered a few stops, bounced back up, and we're looking like we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 or 7 red days on that, and we're starting to get a nice little green day today, up 2.7%. So is that the makings of a high low? I don't know. After we've popped up through, and don't forget, this is only a minor anchor level to this downtrend, just at 340. But after that washout, we bounced through that, cleaned it out, and then we spent, like I said, 7 days backing off from that, potentially in a zone to build a nice little high low. I would ideally like to see, that's that push up off support. Like I'd always like to see, I'd like to see a bit more contraction and give myself maybe some high lows to work off. If I can draw that clearer. Some higher lows to work off within that high at 340. And then I'll be convinced. And what it does too, it does two things. It's more convincing that buyers are stepping in to support that and pushing it higher. And also it reduces your risk quite a bit. You know exactly when you can get this sort of contraction, you've got levels to base your risk off, a lot clearer levels, cleaner levels, and you're not risking a lot if you're just looking for a punch up through that, you know, those highs at 340, expecting it to touch up to 460, even into new highs. Does that make sense to you guys? I've got a feeling we're still buffering and we're not getting anywhere, are we? All right. Good. Sorry, I just had to refresh my actual YouTube page. I've got a feeling it's got more to do with YouTube than anything else. Because the actual stream, what I'm putting up there, I'm uploading, has been the same the last few days. It just doesn't seem to be getting to the YouTube channel quite as easily. Anyway, does that make sense just on what we're talking about? So I think I was based around that KDR, what they were talking about on the forum, and just really getting an overall longer-term perspective. I mean, if this one was at the start and you can sort of base it on a weekly, looks like it's got the potential for a good strong leg up. So if you go to the weekly, a good strong leg up here, it's cleaned out enough traders. If you can look at that and think, okay, there could potentially be a nice, powerful, strong leg up, that's great. Then you're in the right zone on the weekly chart and probably on the weekly chart and probably the daily chart as well. But at the moment, I'm just looking at this. So the can is an example, and ACH pretty much the same. It hasn't really corrected on the weekly. And the thing is, we're coming up into these previous highs. It's had a good run up there. It did reject that quite well. Up at 450, rejected that. We've come straight back down, washed out those lows. So you've just got to remember exactly the price action that's playing out in the weekly if you're going to go into the on the daily entry. And it just, what I like about that too, and it just keeps you on your toes with what you're looking for. And it could really help refine your trading just by, I mean, if you get it wrong, you get out, you book a small profit and it just keeps going, it doesn't matter. But what you're doing is always trying to, you know, we are risk managers, really. That's what trading's about. And what this is doing is just managing your risk. You know exactly what could happen if it starts rolling over. What are you going to do? You've got a plan of attack, not just holding it, hoping for it to kick up again. Okay, Laurent. Send me an email to support@tradesetup.com.au. So that's support@tradesetup.com.au, and I'll send you the link. In saying that, what I'll probably do is just post it right now. I'll put it in now if you give me 2 seconds. There we go. So if you click on that, you can get into then just sign up into Discord. All right, any questions, guys? While we're at that, we'll probably get into it. Put up some stocks if you like. Any of the codes, anything you want to look at, just whack it into the chat, and we'll get into it. There's probably a few others I just want to touch on. Is wrap. Wrap is going nicely. 14 now. I didn't send out an alert on this. I mean, there could have been an alert. Is push up through 10, that pullback. I just don't like alerting around that 10 through the 10 mark, only because I get skeptical that it's not getting played around 10. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we've spoken about this in the past. It goes from 0.01 of us, well, 0.1 cent. Is that right? 1 cent increments, 0.1 of an increment, say from 8, 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, and so on. As soon as it hits 10, it goes in half a cent. So it's 10, 10 and a half, 11. So what they tend to do is push it from, say, 9 cents through 10 and edge out between 10, 10 and a half, or even 10 and a half, 11. And then it comes straight back down again. It can happen quite a bit. Stocks get played like that a bit. And I was a bit, that's why I'm wary of actually sending out an alert to buy it through off that 10 mark. I think sometimes it can get played. So you're better off just looking for that. Had a little spike up now, seeing if we can pull back, maybe test around 10, 11, build that high low, and then look for an entry. I still think this has got the potential to clean up to, close that gap. It's taken a lot of time just cleaning out the buys through this level here. And the story is actually not too bad. I think the story is all right. They're getting things done, producing the goods, just to see if we can get up there. It's probably, looking at that weekly chart, it's probably it could just overextend. I'm looking between 15 and 20. I just want to see what happens if it reacts, then roll over. Then I'm looking for that high low for more confirmation. But that's wrap. Watching that MVP, I think we've been into this for quite a while. It's not alert, but for anyone that's fundamentally biased, I reckon this one's a cracker. And they've just, if you can get onto that news, I don't know if it's on their website. It's an international, this roadshow presentation. It's a good read. I know it's obviously biased for the good news, all the good news, but they've been doing some really good things on MVP, medical developments. Got a really hot product, and when we got on, they were talking about going global, and they've just been putting on countries after countries, increasing sales. It's getting accepted in different countries. The big one, obviously, is the US, but that's probably going to take time. They've got a plan, I think, up until 2020 to release it. If it all goes well with the FDA, to release it in the US, but they're going to try and fast track that. There's potential for them to fast track it and bring that forward. Now, that opens up a massive market to them, and there's some massive benefits on their product, if I can remember. Don't remember what it's called offhand. Memory's not that great, but it's a painkiller. So if you read that, you'll learn more about it. And I reckon fundamentally, it looks great. And technically, it's not the most solid looking chart just here. It's got a bit choppy, considering. But if you go and look at this overall chart, that big back off through 2016, started holding high lows, holding some good levels, started powering up, got through the highs, backed off through. So it's starting to get a little bit choppy. The weekly looks all right. But I think it's going to do some really good things. I think I've got another 20 countries they're looking at bringing on and supplying, whatever it's called, supplying to those countries as a pain relief, to ambulance services, hospitals, whatever. But keep an eye on that one if you're interested. Not massive volume actually, but they could be doing really good things, especially if they get into the US and they all get approved through there. What was the other one I wanted to talk about? Probably about it. MVP. Yeah, I've probably gone through most of. I was just looking at XRO. We had this before, and it's starting to. I think we had it somewhere around here, if I remember correctly. Yep. So I think we had it somewhere around this into 2018. This little break up through here, rode it up. I think we got it. We might have missed this here. We got stopped out just below 30, if I remember. Let me see. Yeah, that was a bugger of a trade actually. That was. It made some small gains, and we were looking for the 35 mark, and it hit it. So what was that? The 5th of the 1st, 5th of January, we got in at 29.26, 30.5 out, and out just below 30. With this little push down, and then look at that, down, stop out, boom. You just hate that, don't you? So yeah, but this one, either way, it's even this that's more of a flush out to me. If you just we get up on a smaller chart. This is more of a flush out of this low, and they know that people like us, the amateurs, holding your stops below the higher lows, and it just flushed it out, didn't finish below there, and that's on a daily chart too. On the open, down, straight back up and finished on its highs for the day. Next day was powerful, went straight up to 35. So that was good. But it's had a couple of days, obviously, clean back down to 30. But it's holding high lows since, and it's looking like it's starting to build again. Whether we see much longer term, still, I mean, that trend on the weekly is well and truly up. It's got to clean out a few trades, especially after that spike to 35 or through. If we can hold a high low here, I think that's going to grind up through that 35, 36 mark and start working its way up to 40. So we'll keep an eye on that one, just see if we can get an entry on that. Well, there's another one just to have a look at. Now, Sharon, I see you bring up Bub. That, I won't lie, it kills me. Look at that. So that's powered on nice. I don't know if Greg's on today, but I know he got into it at 80 and a half. He'd just be giggling to himself, I'm assuming now. And if you do listen to this later, Greg, congrats, mate. Have a good little chuckle. All right, but we were looking for an entry somewhere around here through 80 and a half off this type of price action. I'll draw it up actually. I think we did alert to this one, but it's just, you know, you had support here, a bit of a washout here. You had these little lower highs pressing off a high low, potential high low here, looking for an entry through there. But instead, and as you know, if it turns around and basically hits our stop level prior to the entry level getting triggered, I'd rather just step aside and reassess it. And that was at 70. And you can see it pretty much traded through 70 on this day, went sideways and had some good news. Bang, up she goes. I mean, that's something, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a fundamentals technical, you're not going to know that's going on. I mean, the fundamentals ain't going to know that either. They might guess that some good news is coming out, but unless they've got an inside run, you're not going to know that type of thing's going to trigger some buying and push it up. It's been quite strong. I was hoping potentially it pulled back and build a higher low and then went up, but instead it's just powered on. Last couple of sessions have been really good, especially today. We're up 12% today. Good volume last few sessions as well, especially after that news has come out. Triggered some good volume, good buying into it, really supportive of that. I'm expecting to get through 110 soon. So if you're onto that, legends. Well done, Sharon. Where are you aiming to manage the risk on this one? Just out of curiosity. Because it's a tough one. If you're looking at this, if anyone's looking at this thinking where you're going to manage your risk, it's a tough one. Because technically I always like to put it below a higher low so you can open up the upside a bit. Problem is there hasn't really been any clear defined higher low build. So if you bought it, even if we bought it at 80 and a half where we originally were, you'd stop to have to be below, was it 65? Just below here, if we did buy it through these highs here. Now it's only 1-to-1 roughly about now. So obviously you can manage your risk below 75. That's not a clear-cut level, but for me it could be a little level there. Otherwise you're probably just gonna have to trail it below the day low and see if you can take a partial off here, maybe. I'm only giving a few suggestions, but that's the way I'll be looking to manage it, because the way it's been so strong, you come up to a level here, look, it's getting a bit overcooked in the overbought territory. Let's just take a look at the weekly. Look, the weekly is not overbought or anything, so it could easily just power straight through 110. So I'd be keeping an eye on that level just to see if it does react off there. But like I said, if we open up tomorrow, bang through it, 110 on near the open, then I'll be more inclined to believe it's just going to continue on. Okay, but I think it's always worth when if you've got in around the 80 mark, you're sitting on 20% gains now, I'd be happy just to take a partial anyway. And then gloat about it because we didn't get on. Yeah, but good work, Sharon. 88 was it? All right, let's what was the other one? So Lorraine called BAL was the other one, and AQZ. BAL looks good. And that's after I think we're trading it somewhere around here. Then it's got hammered right down to 3, and it's just been working its way up off that 3 level, or well, these lows anyway. 365, 350. Been working its way up, holding higher lows. So I guess whatever that's triggered down has been working its way back out of the market. They've been obviously coming out with some good news along the way, triggering that higher. And it's holding beautifully, some higher lows. Look at this sort of contraction lower. If you ever seen that, I mean, that's a great sign that there's obviously some profit taken, but it's getting soaked up and eaten up by the buyers. So if you just go and mark that up, you can probably see it a few times. And it's nice price action. So you got a little double top there. We backed off, washed out off the low, started spiking up. The same sort of thing here. After a good move up, see all those green candles, bit of contractions, a bit choppier. So when you see that choppy price action after a solid move up, and it's usually, probably 2 or 3 times it takes as long to just retrace 50% of that move up, and then bang, you get a few days, boom, 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 up we go. Retract a bit more, good move up. Again, contraction through here. And once you start marking it up, you can see it quite clearly. Perfect little entry in here. That was in October last year. Would have been a nice entry. getting through there. You've got to offer high low, out of contraction. You know, all the stars was aligning back then, and then boom, straight up to was that 1250 before we saw some sort of selling pressure coming in. Again, selling pressure coming in, and then we come down to that $10 level. And if you mark that up, you've got contraction there. Probably that was obviously a tougher one to get involved in. I don't think I would have been taking that. If anyone knows my trading style, I'd rather see it pop up out of contraction, pull back to build a high low, and then go. I think that's clear cut, like this type of price action. That's more clear cut than me for an entry signal. But either way, you've got a powerful move up, contraction lower. This is not as nice, I don't think. But then you've got another powerful. It's probably still heading high now. It's looking good. So either way, that's powering along nicely. That's your daily chart. Again, your risk on this one, it's a bit the same. It's starting to get it, I think, just by looking at it, a bit ahead of itself. And it's just got through these highs too. So that's triggering a few longer term buys. Here I'd be playing it more defensive, just on the view that it could be running out of steam soon. Does that make sense? And just watching it. Yeah. That's exactly right. Well, look at the volume now. Look at the bids there. You got 700 at 7. Oh, actually, just go at 1711. Yeah, a few hundred shares. Then 39, 108, 160. It's not the thickest or the heavily traded stock. It's not a lot of volume on there. We've done 16 million, so it can jump around. So this is where I don't like to have wide risk, because it could easily just go boom, straight back down, wash you out, clean you out. And look at that spike on a couple of days ago. Was it Friday, Thursday? Boom, that's cleaned out a few people. I think it's straight off those highs there. So it's reacted quite so. It's been bought up again. Understand that. But, you know, just these sorts of ones, you got to see what volume's on the bid and the offer too. All right. Either way, it's heading higher. If you're trading this from a weekly, you just have your stop under here, under 1350, especially if you got in here. If you got in anywhere down here and you've just been riding it up, by putting it under here, you're giving it some room to move and just see where it goes. Because don't forget two things. If you're going to buy it, it'll be tough to buy it into new highs, you know, from the weekly chart. But if you're holding it, it is in new highs. So what you're banking on, I guess, is the people that have got fear of missing out, or FOMO. Fear of missing out, chasing it up, and once they're all gone, what's it going to do? You probably wouldn't expect the pros to be in here, or anyone to be building in position when it's above into new highs. So for me, it may run out a few buys, and that's when you might get this more of a complex correction back down again. It could clean you out. So just know exactly where your risk is, I guess. What do we got here? AQZ. Oh, look, that's another. Has done not much. To see the volume on that one. Not a lot of volume on there too if you're trading big. You can see the bids and the offers on that. 170 is only 1,100 shares, 1,160 shares. 3,000 at 169.5. So it's only about 4 or 5 grand's worth. 5 grand worth there. At 170 is probably only about 2 grand's worth. Maybe that 1,500. So not a lot on there at the moment. So again, if this is not your style, if you don't feel comfortable trading these sorts of ones, when you're trading the thin stocks, you can make some good gains on them, but you've got to realise too, they can turn on you quite fast. So if it's not your ball game, just keep away from it. But they can, when you get the structure right, they can power on, and you can get enough up your sleeve where it doesn't really matter. But looking at that AQZ, let's start off the daily. This is probably goes along the same lines as what we were talking about before. AC8 can. What was the one we were talking about? KDR. For me, it's looking a bit similar to there. You've had this big rung up. You can just see that it's quite clear cut. But if we draw that on a trend line, I just want to check. We put a trend line under that. It could be correcting now, more of a complex correction. So just be wary of this type of thing. It could be spiking lower, and it could be the start of, the sellers coming into it and sellers starting to take control, maybe pushing it down through 150. We have more of a, I've had a good run up, more of a complex correction with lower highs, lower lows, and then it may take some time to start building again with some higher lows and so on. If you get that, great. But this kind of process, I think if that's the case, we could be somewhere around here now, and we could have another good leg down. And then I think it's going to take quite a bit of time to get that buying positivity back into the market and start building those higher lows. So if that's the case, I'd rather be out than in, obviously. And this leads me to believe that that's a high probability potential, especially after the length of time it's been rallying high. We went from 70 cents up to $1, nearly $1.90. So that's pretty good gains, 100 and something percent, I think. So that's some pretty serious gains on that. So the fact that we're starting to blow out here may lead me to believe that I wouldn't be buying it through. I wouldn't buy it, probably wouldn't buy it now through that 175, 178 level, expecting to go through the highs. It could just fall short, could spike through and then roll over as a deeper correction. You don't know. So that setup alone doesn't look too bad. This sort of contraction lower, it could pop up through here and just keep on going. But I just think when you're looking at it on a weekly basis, the kind of move it's had, especially after the time, through 2015, did nothing through halfway through 2016, started lifting, then contracting, holding some high lows, and we've lifted again, and we've lifted right up into nearly the highs, haven't we? Maybe some more to go at 230. We've lifted right up towards this level, so it's going to start, I would expect, running out of steam. And the fact that it looks like we're rolling over now, potentially, or we have got the potential, not saying it is, I would rather just, I'd be looking elsewhere, considering too it's quite thin as well. Because if it goes down, it could just go boom, straight down. And this is the kind of stock, with the markets the way they are at the moment, don't forget you've got the global markets. If the Dow does roll over, what we talked about at the start, this thing could go quite fast to the downside if it's struggling up at these highs. So if you've got something that's a bit different, if you're in a stock that's had a good, good leg up and it's coming out of contraction, longer term, and then you're in this zone here where it's starting to show here and it's starting to lift, that is good because you've got this, the way I would view it, you've got this good leg up, you extrapolate that out, that's sort of your target up here, you're at the start of a potential good, strong new leg up. So if you get that type of price action in the current climate, it's a higher probability trade. And this thing could hold up, it could easily hold up. But when you get another stock that's looking to set up, but it's potentially stretched on all accounts, look, it might be worth just looking for something a bit cleaner, especially in the current market environment. I'm not saying it's going to roll over, but I just think that for me, again, we're talking about probabilities. If it does roll over, you want the good quality setups, especially as the ASX starts looking a bit stretched itself. Does that make sense anyway? All right, what else we got here? PCK, that's another one, isn't it? What was that? I've actually got that. Looking to go. Oh, now what was this? What was the code before this? I've got this myself. It hasn't been an alert, but I know I've got this myself. I think I'm from 5.5 or so. Anyway, I can't remember. Yeah, so we can see that's... Let's just draw it up. We can see if we can get a picture in this. It's a bit hard. There's not a lot of data in there. Oh, come on. What are you doing to me? All right. Here we get a bit better here. All right, now that'll do. I'm working around. All right, so you got this opened up. Whatever the code was, it couldn't get up through this new level 6.234. Started rejecting, holding off. It's got to clean out a few of these buys. Cleaning out, heading a bit lower, and then we're starting to lift again. We're starting to pop back up towards these highs. So whether we start seeing it's going to struggle up here or it's just going to continue on, we've got a level that's just pushed up to 6.2, and we've opened down today, and we're struggling. So I wouldn't like to see it go down through 5.6, obviously. But I think the chances are it could just go boom straight up and through 6.2 and just continue its move up. EPT, that's the one. Thanks, John. So either way, I mean, you're coming up to a zone here. We've had some clear selling pressure into that zone. So, okay, if you're just looking at purely that perspective, we may find some more selling. But remember, we've had it push up into this zone. We've backed off. So we've done a lot of cleaning out. That cleaning out process, or the washing out process, we've done that, and we're coming out the other end of it. So this, to me, that's why I'm leaning towards higher prices, pushing up. Obviously knowing exactly where my risk is at the moment. And I mean, if I do get out below 5.6, I'll probably end up being break even anyway, but I think it's well worth just holding and seeing if we can push up through 6.2, start attacking up towards these highs. That's not very clean, is it? Up towards those highs at 6.5 and beyond. And then this could be the start of a nice little leg higher. We just have to see how that goes. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I just saw Nando's comment. Still buffering a bit, I'm guessing. I don't know why it gets... I can't tell you. I thought it was clean. It was coming out the other end. All right. Is there anything else you're going to have a quick look at? Let's just see where the market is before we maybe call it a day there. Market's still holding around that up 30 mark. Can's looking good. AC8. I just want to keep an eye on those. What was yours? Breville. BRG. Oh, that's looking all right. Look around that. That longer terms look really good. Good strong move up. This is on Breville BRG. How long was mentioning before? Good powerful move up. We'll just see if it can contract. If it can hold that 13 level, it may even need to pull back a bit more off these highs at 14 just to clear out a few more traders above, the highs. And if this little leg up, clean them out, maybe 50% retracement down here, 1250, 75, and then see if it can power up from there. If it goes straight up through 1350, it could just spike. I'm thinking this here, the way this went boom, boom, boom in 3 days, spiked up through 14. It may mean we have that 2 legs down, one little pop up to 1350, and then that secondary move down just to clear out a few traders. Oh, SFR, all right. Oh, FR, Sandfire. It's a bit of the same. I don't like this type of price action. Wash it at the top, boom down, and then straight back up. I'm not too trusting of it, if that makes sense. I think maybe this one is one to be holding longer term. You see it's gone through that $7 level, and that structure itself looks pretty good. This is off a monthly chart. I know it's very long term, but it's still, it still holds. And if we can look at that longer term price action, here we go. Good move up, pull back, good move up. Then we started getting a bit choppy. Had to have a decent enough correction here off this low to get up through those highs. But all we really did from there is push up, test it, pull back, high, low, looking good there. Then washed it out and we had this deeper correction. So once you get this deeper correction, then I'd be more inclined just to get on the sidelines. And then we've had that lower high, big push down through 4. But then what we can see is over time, it's pushed right back up to this level around that $7 mark. Or probably fell a bit short, so be it, but then started holding high levels through here, after that little pop up there, another high low here. So that was looking good on the longer term basis. Potentially off your weeklies as well. Looking here, and if you had this little break in here, it may have worked out quite nicely. Well, it did work out quite nicely, but it looks like it is washy. as in it's washing out here. It washed out the previous highs through here, went straight back down to the lows again, and here it washed out this previous low. So you just got to be on guard, I guess. And again here, you know, we've had that wash out of the highs on this candle here, 740 through there, straight back down to make a deeper correction. So, and then it's starting to lift again. So for me, it does look a bit choppy sometimes, but it's the longer term time frame that I think is quite positive. So if you can get through that choppiness, I'm only just talking from where I trade from, with stops in there and levels, I just get out. It probably doesn't suit my trading style as much because I'd probably get whipped out a few more times. But if you've got that longer term and you have wider stops, okay, it's going to work out beautifully. I think you've got some longer term upside to it. NST. Look, that's nice. That pretty much, as of today, just getting through that 620 mark. If you look at that as a setup, it's quite nice. Longer term, look, it's got that nice structure to it. You've had this push up. It started accelerating a bit, and it's had to have a big correction down to 3 just to clear out a lot of these late buys, put them back on the sidelines, and then it started holding again, just holding high lows, high highs, and that's pretty much, you know, a clear channel at the moment. It could be getting up towards the top of the channel again if we get up around that 650. If you draw that up, which we will. Oh, no, no. Oh, look, it might still have more to go, but if you just look at it sort of more of a channel type of structure rather than starting to get a bit ahead of itself, you're more vertical. So when I go more vertical, they're harder. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't get in to start getting a bit late into the trend, and then you've got to have that deeper correction to clear it out. Now it's more controlled. You can see that's the different dynamics of that market. So yeah, I mean, if you're in this one off the dailies, nice, know exactly where where your risk is if you're going to buy it through that high. If you bought it on a intraday, I don't know where you got in. That's not bad little price action here. Pull back, lower high, retest up towards the highs, had that deeper correction down to 560. Had a deeper correction. That's down to a level as well, a little inside level, retesting these lows, still holding trend, and you got this inside level that played out just after, a few days after, or just a couple of days ago, pretty much played out today, I think. That's not so bad. So you're coming out the other end of this little daily corrective action lower, and then you continue on with that longer term trend higher. Okay, let's go get over to there. Let's see what's on there. ASX200. I wonder if I can get that up. Why is it not working? God, it's not very good, my computer at the moment. It could be my computer. So I'm just looking at Helen's chart. Oh. Come on. Be nice to me. That's it there. Good work, Ryan. So now I'll just be sitting there holding, know where your risk is, and just see if I can push up through the highs. And that's on Northern Star. So this is your 5-minute chart, Helen, on the ASX200. Yeah, it's finding a bit of pressure, isn't it? Let's just see what the ASX is doing right now, just to finish it off. Intraday. That's too many. It's a minute chart. It's not looking too bad on the. It's looking like it could curve up, but I'm guessing more it's going to go sideways into the close. What have we got left? 2.5 hours left of trading. It could edge up to get to those the daily highs, or it might just find an inside level at. I suggest it's probably going to find a bit of pressure up towards that 60, 30, 35 zone. Just this high, but it is still holding high lows. See if we can pop up through there, and then you might get that deeper correction down. There's a few levels to get through. I think Helen's right there. What is the Discord tag? Don't know. All right. Northern Star. I actually did too. Let me just check. Where is it? That's yours. There we go. Oh, there you go. There's the same. We were just talking about that channel there. It's actually ticking along nicely. Channel rough support at $6. Yeah. So it's looking good. All right, guys. Probably call it a day there. Oh, intraday charts up still. Whoops. End of day. Let's go to that. Let's forget about that. All right, guys. Yeah, we'll call it a day there. Thanks very much for joining me. We'll be back in on Thursday at 12:30, and just to let you know, I probably mentioned it on Thursday. We're looking to do another live stream and getting a couple of guest speakers in there, and just see if we can do a live stream to you guys or to anyone. I'm not sure if we're going to go through the Discord channel. I don't think we can, but we probably just do like the normal, about through YouTube, post it in there, and then you can just view it once we alert you all to it. So if you are hooked up to us on YouTube, you'll get a notification that we go live, and I'll let you know too as we go. So anyway, all right, guys. Yep, like I said, thanks very much for joining me. We'll speak to you again on Thursday. Cheers, enjoy. Bye.